Take two. That's my. That's the look on my face permanently now. Okay. G'day, hi and welcome. This week in World Crazy. 16 degrees down here. 20% humidity. Dry as bone. The water's frozen still. Pretty much everybody I talk to, yeah, my water's frozen too. Yeah, it's like everybody's water's frozen. Yeah, you get like a week of minus 30. It's right after the blast of cold that it freezes. It takes a while for that frost to really set in. Once it does, boy, that's it. You better have stocked up on water. Okay. I don't even know where to begin with this video. Okay, I'll start with two things. Sit back and laugh at the madness of it all, but man. Okay. Remember my prediction of by year's end we're going to be at $5,400 to $8,500 gold. I have to revise that to probably $15,000 to $26,000 gold. You'd say, why would you say it? Because I was about to make a video on how insane it was that we just passed $5,000 gold. Yeah, you heard me. Okay, in a week it went up like $80 or whatever. I haven't even had a chance to tell you that we're now at 5,200. Okay, now let's. Okay, we're almost at the end of the month. Okay, did I not tell you January? God, just wait till all the chaos of February comes in. It's like it's 10 years worth of chaos in 2 months. That's what we're gonna get. That's what I said we were gonna get, and I've been dead on. Okay. Have you ever think about how old you are now? Most of you listening to this are probably a little bit older. You're probably older than teenagers, I'm sure. Think of your entire life. Gold prices your entire life. Has there ever been once that gold has went up about $700 in 1 month? Think about the last past like 200 years. Has there ever been a month where it's went up $700 in a month? We're gonna die. Holy crap. I keep saying, what does I got to stop asking this question, like what does $5,000 gold, what does that world look like? Oh my god, it is bad. Oh wow. Now, I know a lot of people that would gold, and there's a lot of people that hold gold that think this is great. It's like no. You know what great is? Gold going down to 50 cents an ounce. That's great. That's phenomenal. That's utopia. That means you have purchasing power. It means for every dollar you have, you need $5,400 to buy an ounce of gold. Wow. I don't know what silver went up to. Does it matter at this point? No. At 5,400, I think we're going to be at war with something. And $6,000 gold is Mad Max. $7,000 gold is the end of the world. I think. Like we're watching the end of an empire. There is no golden. Well, I guess technically there is a golden age coming, but it's total monkey's paw kind of wish, right? It's like, oh, I wish gold would go to $5,000, $10,000 an ounce, but what kind of world is that you're living in? It's the gold is not going up. Your currency is going down. And I try to explain this to people. The gold doesn't go up. It's a commodity. It's solid. It doesn't get bigger. It doesn't get smaller. It just is what it is. It's a physical item, like this, right? It stands the test of time. It's your value against it, right? It's your currency against the gold. The gold is always the gold. An ounce is an ounce is an ounce. It's not going to get bigger. It's not going to get smaller. It's just how much does it take of your paper money or even cryptocurrencies. It doesn't really matter. Like everything's going to bounce up. Like cryptos are just as much of a scam as anything else. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's when you really think about it, it's coming from the same people. It's already being manipulated. I'm not saying don't ride the gravy train, but what I'm saying is just understand the stock market is fixed. It's rigged. The only thing that is sound is gold and silver. Everything else is just complete chaos. Like it's just it's a, you know, like I'm not against fiat or paper money. But paper money, its originality is basically an IOU for an ounce of gold. If you want to track it back far enough. I mean, heck, tally sticks were more sound money than the money we have now. If you don't know what tally sticks are, it's like that was like a currency for 700 years. It was just like, okay, you owe me this. Here's a stick. We're going to cut it in half, and we're going to put notches in it, and we'll match these up so it would be a distinct. When your debt's paid, you give me back the other stick, right? And that was currency for 700 years. Yeah, and it really couldn't be counterfeited at the time. Maybe now with laser printing you could, but and just carrying around these big sticks with notches in it might have been, or half sticks, I guess. Uh, but that's what it was. You know what I mean? Like it was a more honest system. Uh, yeah, I'm just like floored on that one. Oh, I gotta stop making predictions. I'm gonna destroy the world if I do. But anyway, yeah, it's like the chaos is there for sure. Uh, I want to address a subscriber. Again, I'm always like, like agree to disagree. State your case. I'll never censor, right? If there's ever censorship on my channel, it's not from me, it's from YouTube. Uh, like, I never remove comments. I've never done that in my life. You know what I mean? But sometimes people challenge me on my ideas, and I'm all for that. Don't feel like you can't. But what was said was something that it's like, okay, like that. It's kind of the crux of the problem of what we're facing. And so I felt that it should be addressed. And it was along the lines of my consistency about protests, where I'm for some protests but not others. Like how I was for the trucker convoy, but there's caveats there. If you followed me through that, and I'm not for this, like the BLM or whatever. And yes, I agree. Yeah, these people. One thing you have to admire about the insanity of the left is their convictions, right? Like when they really really want to come after you, they're all in. You know what I mean? Like they're fighting for what they believe, and the problem is their ideology is all over the map. The only thing that's consistent about them is nihilism and anti-white, anti-West, anti-colonial, whatever. Anti-patriarchy, whatever. Those are the only things that like that's the religion, right? Everything else around it doesn't matter if it contradicts itself or not, as long as that's the religion. They're basically turning into Bolsheviks, as I said they would, and many others. But it goes like this. Okay, I'll start with the trucker convoy. Yes, I overall was okay with the trucker convoy, but I said this. Like the honking thing, for example. When the trucker convoy arrived in Ottawa, right, and the whole way there, everybody was showing rallying support. Where they fucked up was the honking all night. Like they should have honked during the day. Okay, lunchtime we're gonna honk for an hour, and maybe around supper time we'll honk for an hour, and then that's it. That's what pissed people off. It wasn't even really the trucks. Now, blocking the traffic, okay, if the truckers were willing to take the fines for that, and they did, then so be it, right? Did they have the right to do that? Well, they did have lanes open, they did have lanes open, and again, the that there you could say yes, they shouldn't have been doing that, but it's a rig. When you park it on the street, it pretty much blocks the street, right? So yes, the blocking of the streets was their strategy, and they were willing to take the fines. So was it right legally? No. Because that was infringing on other people's ability to get work. But that said, did they block people from going into their businesses? Absolutely not. In fact, the businesses did really well because these people sitting there all day with nothing to do bought a lot of stuff, right? They just sat there buying stuff. Uh, so the big difference is the trucker convoy was pretty much, it wasn't mostly peaceful, it was 100% peaceful, other than the noise, right? So the noise, yes, we can agree that the noise wasn't right. And it was a bad strategy on their behalf. They mainly this you had Frenchmen on top of log trucks partying. That's what you had, right? And you had like other truckers just honking. That was the crux of it, right? So the honking, yes, I was against that. I'm like, you're pissing off the residents and you're losing moral support when you do that, right? Because most of the people in Ottawa were supportive of this protest. The people on Parliament Hill in the actual grounds, 100%. Wave your sign, honk your, make your noise, whatever. That's fine. That's the place to do that. So, and again, and they did it peacefully, so no problems there, right? Uh, the Emergency Powers Act has just been recently. They finally came to it doesn't matter now because they've already arrested who they wanted and stuff like that. But like yeah, no, it was heavy handed and it was uncalled for. It was an overreach of martial law. What you guys call the Insurrection Act, we call Emergency Powers Act. It used to be called the War Measures Act, but that's the political it's the political correct way of saying martial law. There you go. So there was actually a boost in businesses with the trucker convoy just because there's so many people down there and support. A lot of people made a lot of money on that, especially at that time of the year. In January, February. Like it's a kind of the time of the year to. I myself was gonna go, but my truck was. I forget what happened to my truck at that time. I know I was having a hard time with it. I think the battery kept dying or something like that. And I just really didn't want to risk going down. And I had a gut feeling not to go anyway. All these big protests, I pretty much say the same thing. Like, unless you're with a select band of people that you know everything about, from where they were born, how they grew up, whatever, don't go out protesting and like when there's like we're gonna get 10,000 people together. You're going to be subverted by agent provocateurs every time, every single time, and like that's why you don't do it. That's why like these banner drops. That's why they're banning them because those are actually effective, right? A group of guys they string a banner, they leave the banner or they take the banner or whatever and they run away. No harm, no foul, and nobody gets. There's no violence. There's no like it's a peaceful protest, right? Yeah, so they don't like stuff like that. We're going to be talking about Amelia in a second. Don't worry. That's why you're going to use her as the avatar because it's where we shine, right? It's where we shine. We don't shine holding signs in the streets. The right wing doesn't do well in the streets. We just don't. The left dominates those type of protests, right? We dominate the online thing in a lot of ways, even with all the censorship. Like it's because our arguments are hard to counter, right? That's why there's so much censorship. It's not because like you really think the anti-Semitism and anti-Israel stuff is being censored, because it's like we're just bad and using tropes. No, it's because they can't counter our arguments. That's why they do it, right? But that said, okay, so my take on the protests in general overall has always been, I've said it a million times, that, it's your right to protest just as long as you're peaceful. Now let's talk about the left, okay? Like whether it's BLM or this ICE thing, you have to understand these are unhinged people. Like they're not just fighting for what they believe. They are brainwashed into a religion. You can see it all over TikTok. People talk about how they're about to martyr themselves and die for the cause. Like that's how committed they are. They are radicals, right? And they are ready to use violence. They believe they have to go and kill Nazis. Everybody's a Nazi, right? Anybody right of Karl Marx is a Nazi to them. And they believe they are beyond the law. They're vigilantes, right? They do a lot of violence. Like when you're protesting, you can scream and yell and whatever, use a blowhorn, but the second you take that blowhorn and put it at somebody's face, okay, and that's assault. You know what I mean? These people don't go to jail for it. They never really pay like the odd person. Look, the BLM protests, I think like 200 people were murdered in those protests. There was a guy and a girl, they just accidentally turned down the wrong street and a bunch of black people shot the guy in his car. He did nothing. It's just he was just driving while white. You know what I mean? Where's the outrage for what you call it, Zechariah, the girl there, Urena Zechariah, Zaruska or whatever. Where's all the left protesting that? Nowhere. Where was the left protesting, for example, the Obama years? Many immigrant groups protested, but they did it peacefully, right? Where Obama basically deported like 3 million people. Like Obama's still like the king dog, I think, for deportations. Maybe for self-deportating deportations, maybe Trump might have it, but for actual using ICE to deport people, Obama in his 8 years basically deported like 3 million people, and like something like 56 people were killed under ICE, under these deportation, right? Uh, and where was the left on that side? Why? Because Obama wasn't white. That's what it comes down to. They don't care about these people. Do you really think these people that are protesting care about the smallies? They don't. They're protesting for people that hate their guts. You know what I mean? Like the Somali community is never going to accept the LGBTQ. You know what I mean? Like it's completely detached. But it's not about that. It's a religion of fighting white supremacy. That's what it is, right? So you see all these. You see nurses. This is what like I've never been scared to go to the doctor, but now, ever since 2020, I'm kind of like leery about it because I'm like, am I going to get one of these progressive nurses that's just like needs to take her aggression out on somebody? Like you have a nurse out there talking about how to inject people with poison ivy. If an ICE agent comes into your emergency room or whatever, do this to him, and she's basically describing how to murder somebody on TikTok. You know what I mean? Like again, these people that like they don't understand consequences. They're sociopathic and psychopathic. Combinations of them, right? They're mainly sociopaths, but some of them are psychopaths too. Like no, you're justified in murdering these people. Maybe get a vial of again, it's very specific stuff. Like we're going to inject them with freaking poison ivy and stuff like. I'm like, and the judges are not going to put somebody like that in jail. That's the problem. The judges are in on it. The city councils are in on it. You know what I mean? Like where the ICE guys have cooperation with the law enforcement, there's no issues. I mean, there's like yeah, sure, there's a little bit of protest, but you have to understand the media, the governors. Tim Walz was Obama's right hand man. He was the last guy organizing ICE. Not the last guy, but he was organizing ICE under Obama, and suddenly now he's against it. Why? Because he's not against the ICE deport. He doesn't give a shit about that. He's like, well, if this hurts Trump, then makes Trump look bad. And again, don't worry. Like Trump makes himself look bad. Like we're gonna get into him, and I know more Trump bitching. I get it. I know you guys don't want to hear it, but you got to know what's going on, right? But that's the thing. So the violent protests, I've always been against. I've been consistent on that. So do I support their right to protest ICE? Yes. Obstruct justice, whether it really doesn't come down to me. It doesn't come down to me at all. But my take is no, do not obstruct justice. Fight it in the courts. Pick your battles, right? But these radical leftists, like I mean, this guy that got shot, what Alex Pretty or whatever his name was, he'd already clashed with the ICE a couple of times to the point where they broke one of his ribs, right, in the scuffles. So this guy walking around armed men that are on edge, does not have enough brain power to understand, how to practice self-preservation, right? Now, was the shooting legal, not legal? Look, there's AI generated stuff out there to incite enragement. There's, again, like don't just go on the very first impulse of it. It's like that lady last week. Now, should she have gotten shot? Like, well, you got to look at, like a lot of people say, well, yeah, well, he just got, a bruise from the car. He shouldn't have shot. When the vehicle's coming at you, right? It's not the aftermath that you're concerned. You're in the moment. This person's trying to kill you, and speeding away. Again, how many times have we seen people speed away only to clip and kill other civilians, right? In police chases and stuff like that. At some point you have to stop. Like, I mean, it's like if you can't figure it out that you might get shot, challenging these people who have been attacked, murdered. I mean, that guy was his second time getting hit by a protester. They are trying to kill them. I mean, these guys are on edge. You know what I mean? So a logical person would say, maybe I should just stay away from that fucking protest. You know what I mean? Because these guys are on edge. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. You end up dead. It's called self-preservation. Pick your battles. You want to fight it? Fight it online. Say, look, I'm against this policy, blah, 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 because of this. What I do. I bitch and whine about everything, right? And it does have an effect to a degree. The going to the streets and throwing their bodies on the pillars of social justice, putting their bodies on the line again, which they're encouraged to do. These are mentally ill people. They're not fit for protesting. They basically have mental health issues, and they're being encouraged to basically put themselves in harm's way by state actors and NGO groups and all that, and media, to create more chaos and violence. It's not about becoming ungovernable. It's about destroying the rule of law. The judges and lawyers that let these Antifa guys out all the time. You've got Antifa guys out there saying, yeah, we need to go, the time is now to start killing these ICE agents. Like, literally point blank. You know what I mean? They're talking about this stuff, right? And who are they censoring? Well, the far right. Or anybody that's saying, hey, you know what, maybe we should pull back the throttles on this fucking insanity and have, like when you have these court judges that are basically letting these people out and get away with all this violence, of course people are going to get it. And what did you think these deportations were going to look like? You know what I mean? I'm not justifying. I'm just saying, when it's that far gone, you need to track it back. Why does this scenario exist in the first place? Because there was no rule of law. Basically, governments around the world imported illegal people, right, and just flood them in, right? That's why we have you wouldn't need the ICE agents if you didn't have illegals, right? It's as simple as that. Or you wouldn't see, and if the thing is that the Obama administration did it under the radar, right, for the most part, and it was only the immigrant groups that actually protested, but they were pretty peaceful. That's why you didn't hear about it, right? And the NGO groups didn't say nothing because Obama was their guy, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, right? But Trump is making this as loud and as overt as possible to pander to the MAGA base, right? And it's got bad optics all over it. Like, what you do is you don't show that. You know what I mean? What you do is you wait till you take down some massive criminal, right? And then you parade that out. Say, oh, look, we got him. Again, the optics on this one, it loses the normie, right? So, like, the thing is that there's no way to deport people peacefully if they don't want to go peacefully, right? The best, although one advantage that this does have is that it does scare people out of the country, which is a good thing. Even up here in Canada, like our population is starting to shrink now. We're down by about 120,000 people. I mean, we're way over the threshold of sustainability, but at least it's moving in the right direction. It's just we need a couple of million people. We need about 8 million people to leave this country that are, we've got about 5,000 or 5 million, expired visas and people like that have to go. And, all these people that have showed up just got welfare right away. You cut off the welfare, most of them are going to go back. They'll self-deport. That's the way to do it. The fastest way to deport people is workfare. Say, okay, yeah, you got welfare. Okay, you're going to come and do community service, and we're going to find stuff for get them breaking rocks. I don't care what they trust me. They'll leave so fast. Why? Because these people aren't coming in to work. And better, they're coming in to take your health care and welfare and stuff like that. But no, I've been consistent, I think, on the whole what I support and what I don't support. I don't support the radical left's way they protest. Now, if they want to go out and protest, it's their right to do so, and like that's whatever. But they have to keep it peaceful. The problem is they're the Antifa is always like breaking store windows and attacking people and murdering people. Like these people have done like pure evil, right? And yeah, that's not at that point when you're doing that. You're no longer just fighting for what you believe in and standing up for it. At that point, you're doing evil. Like you know, as soon as you start hurting other people, you know, I mean, again, we can get into the nuance of it, but there's no point. But we'll just go with the generalization. You know, like if you're going to hurt people, that's not protesting. That's just vigilantism and violence. You know, like that's all it is, and that's what you get from the left. Again, you throw your vehicle at an ICE agent. Don't be surprised when you get shot. You know, if you're going to walk up to an ICE agent armed, you know, like they're going to be on edge. They see you have a gun. You know what I mean? Now, should he have been shot? Should he, again, heat of the moment. It's easy for us to judge from back here. I'm not giving the ICE agents any leeway here. I'm just saying, you know, this is why these people need to stay fucking back from the ICE agents, but they're not. You know, they're obstructing justice, and you're not allowed to do that. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, you're not allowed to do it. They're going to take action. That's why they're arresting these protesters. So you see this girl that, she picks up a flashbang grenade and blows out her hand off. I don't know if you've seen that video. That is pretty fucking gruesome. That looked painful. That looked really painful. But somebody brainwashed this stupid woman to think that she could be like a Che Guevara, whatever, social justice warrior, whatever. And like, just, they're dangers to themselves. You know what I mean? Like, first off, if you're not, you know, like of all things, you don't pick up the flashbang. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's you can't fix stupid, right? Like it just is what it is. But it's the idea that people agitated these people to do that. You know what I mean? Come out and throw your bodies on the lines of social justice. They're literally telling people to go martyr themselves for the cause. Now, what kind of system does that? A benevolent system? I don't think so. Like these judges, lawyers, governors, city council people that do all this. The media, they need to be held to account, and until we hold those people to account, which good luck with that, but we're going to deteriorate. Now the problem is the other side of that coin still hasn't arrived yet, right? Like these ICE raids, okay, if you compare like the January 6th thing, okay, all those people that walked through the through the through the Congress building or whatever. Okay, you could say they were kind of stupid, even though the guards opened the doors. Like that's the big one, that they let the people in on purpose. I'm pretty sure, like there was some people like, no, I'm not falling for that. Like, why would you even go in there? You know what I mean? Like that was just stupidity on your behalf. So, and now look at all the people that have been in jail. Now Trump's pardoned them all, but you have to understand, as soon as the left gets back in, those people are not only going to be arrested again, but they're going to probably face the death penalty for insurrection. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're going to. When the optics that, like, Trump has dropped the ball so bad that he's handed the left the world. Every country is never going to fucking vote right wing because normally, oh, well, that's all far right Nazis there. That's what the news told me. You know what I mean? Like that's how stupid people are, right? So we're going to learn the hard way, and we're going to have Bolshevism 2.0, which means civil war in the end, right? So like at this point, there's no stopping. It's just, when does it arrive? Summer next year? You know what I mean? At $8,200 gold, you know what I mean? You tell me when it starts, right? We'll know when we know. Just wait till the weather gets warm. Oh my God. But, Trump could go after these governors and stuff like that and get them on obstruction of justice and inciting violence. It's like, hey, you're inciting the violence and you're obstructing justice. If somebody wants to challenge them in court, that's where your city councilors, that's where your judges and lawyers and mayors and whatever, that's where they're supposed to challenge and stuff, is in the court saying, no, we don't want this in our state. Here's our case. Let's take it to the Supreme Court. Okay, you do that, you got rule of law, and the chips fall where they may. You might like it, you might not like it, but at least that way you have stability in your society. But telling people, well, just disobey the law and go out and do whatever you want. Again, the amount of people that ISIS killed versus the amount that the protesters, like Antifa, has killed over the years, where's the outrage for that, right? And again, these people don't care about the Somalians or whatever. They're basically protesting for people that have been robbing them blind because they don't believe it, right? They're like, oh no, that's just white supremacy lying, because they're racist. And if you show them irrefutable proof, it's like, well, yeah, but you owe these people because of oppression. You know what I mean? Like, you can't reason with the left; they're insufferable, right? But no, if the protest is peaceful, it doesn't matter if I agree with it or disagree with it. I agree with your right to protest. I've always said that. I'll always say that. I stick by that. So yes, I've critiqued the trucker convoy. Say, guys, you're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. But overall, you can't. Again, there's like nobody died. The only person that really got injured was when the Emergency Powers Act or the martial law kicked in. That's only when people got hurt, and it was mainly the state hurting the people, right? Now that said, the melees, you could critique and say, well, they should have just disbanded, and you're right, they probably should have. You know what I mean? Like, what was it all for? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I don't go to big protests. It's like there's no real point to it. You don't win that way. A guy converting people through facts, logic, and reason on the internet will go much further. It's just than people out in the street where it's just this big wash of noise, right? Whether it's peaceful or not, it's just a big wash of noise. The message gets lost right away. You saw it in Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street was probably like the overall protest I supported. Like, I was like, yeah, I know we need to hold these fucking bankers to account. But then the Antifa come out and they start smashing stuff. I'm like, well, what are these fucking black bloc? We used to just call them black bloc at the time. Antifa goes back to the it's basically a spin-off of the Bolshevik Revolution, right? Then it led to the Frankfurt School and all that. And the thing is that the idea is, and this goes back to what Saint Yuri Bezmenov always said, as I call him, Saint Yuri Bezmenov, that they're under ideological subversion. I'll use his accent. Under ideological subversion, there can never be any legitimate protest. Whether it's on the left, whether it's on the right, there can never be legitimate protest. And it's true. Why? Because the idea wasn't to get protest in your favor. The idea is to keep agitation between groups, right? Why? Because I want the state to take away his rights. Well, I want you to take away his rights. I just finished chapter 5 of my book, 2060 Dystopia. And I mentioned that in there, like one character, his name's Chief. And I describe him as like a tribesman, but the thing is he's like has the world's largest book collection in 2060 of books that he rescued from being burnt and stuff like that. And it explains it as both political sides basically accused each other of book burning when they both, burnt each other's books, right? And isn't that what we're not seeing right now? So just wait till the future. Like, if you're going to write a book, have it now. If you're going to collect books, now's the time. If you're going to collect food, now's the time too. The chaos, guys, the chaos. Like, as the weather gets warmer, like, the grocery stores are going to be on fire if there's anything to go to them anyway. It's bad. It's bad. It's really, really bad. But anyway, that's what I'll say about the protest. But if you guys are going to go partake in these protests, like, understand that you are being fed rage bait beyond belief. Right? And I get it. Even people on the right are like, oh, my moral principles, I'm against the ICE guys now, blah, blah, blah. And the left is like all for the Second Amendment. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what $5,200 an ounce gold looks like. The left is now for gun rights, and the right is against, the deportations. Like, you know what I mean? It's just there's no fucking long-term thinking on this at all. It's like, well, it's like, okay, this idea that you're going to be able to take people out of the country in the millions, like when you have to deport like 30 to 40 million people, what does that look like? That doesn't look pretty. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be a long fight. That's going to be a very, very rough fight, especially with the people that don't want to go. The good news is most people are probably 9 out of 10 are going to just leave peacefully, and it takes time, right? But Trump is going to lose all. He's lost all that momentum because of the way he's done it. Like there's all kinds of things he could have done, such as cut funding, stuff like that. And he has done some of that stuff in all fairness, like immigrant centers and stuff like that. Make sure that people can't get drivers like just make it, don't make it beneficial for them to be here. You know what I mean? Keep the ICE raids more on the down low and just boast about, oh, hey, here we have a press concert. We caught this guy. He's a human trafficker. He's this. Just show the worst of the worst. Don't show the little old ladies getting dragged out. You know what I mean? Like the papers, please thing. Again, all mind you, the state is always about the state, right? So Canadian Prepper and I agree on this. The state takes power and they never give it back. It doesn't matter if they take it for the left or take it for the. It's the ratcheting system. It only ratchets one way. Once you lose rights, you don't get it back. Whether you got a conservative government, like here in Canada, we had conservative government for 10 years, and they didn't give us back any gun rights at all. You know what I mean? Like, they still stuck with the liberal bans and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, we're fighting for your rights. Yeah, it takes you 10 years to give us like Bill C-42, which, okay, a step in the right direction, but they didn't get back, they didn't do away with Bill C-68, right? Like it was good to see most provinces go against it. Here in Quebec, it's not all Quebecers that want this. Most Quebecers don't want this gun ban that's coming in. What it is it's this NGO, George Soros funded NGO group called the Coalition for Gun Control. They're now called something else. It's Jen Rathjen. She was one of the Polytechnique survivors, shooting survivors, and she's been running it, her and Wendy Cloutier. Now, Wendy Cloutier is long gone and stepped down. Good fucking riddance. But the thing is that it's government backed. You know what I mean? Whereas our pro-gun lobby is not. Where in the States it's the opposite. You got the NRA in there. They're pretty sound in there. I'm not saying, but the Americans are like, look, you guys are going to lose your gun rights too. Well, no, I got the Second Amendment. Look, your Constitution is it's a shit rag, not even worth the bullets that are not protecting it. I can't stress that enough. Once you understand that, then you understand that you got to be very proactive on staying on top of that. You don't wait till the fight comes to you. You get on the walls of Vienna early. You know what I'm saying? And you make sure that the radical agendas can't get ground, because you better believe they're going to go after the Second Amendment when the left takes full control next, when that pendulum swings back. And it will. It will. It's almost impossible now for a right-wing government pretty much anywhere in the world to win because of fucking Donald Trump. He's betrayed the world. Look what happened to us. Pierre Poilievre was, and I would say Pierre Poilievre would be much better than Carney. In fact, they're probably very, very similar. Their policies were pretty much identical, except for the caveat of a few things. Pierre would be slightly better maybe on some things, but even at that, I think Carney's kind of, he's turning the ship in the right direction in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, yeah, he's dropped the ball, but in most ways, he's doing better than most leaders out there. Again, it's not that I like the guy and I'm giving him ring endorsement. I didn't vote for him, but I'm an honest man. I got to tell you what's going on, right? But the thing is that Trump endorses Pierre, who pretty much 90% had it in the bag, and bang, he loses the election instantly. That was Trump interfering with our elections. He can go fuck himself for that. That really pissed me off. And then you got this ambassador. I keep forgetting the ambassador. I hate that guy. The ambassador. He is such a prick. It's like he comes and he pretends to be your friend, and then he insults you and threatens you. You know what I mean? Like the latest greatest is Canada better buy these F-35s, or we're going to be flying we're going to consider you not able to, if you buy the soft weapons, then we're going to say, well, you can't defend your own airspace, therefore we're going to, intrude on your airspace because. So basically, he's threatening invasion of Canada. That's what he's threatening. Uh, it's like I say, the Chinese deal. Okay, let's put it into perspective. Okay, right versus left. In Canada, this is something you'll never see in the States because the Americans are different people from us, right? And again, there's a lot of people on the right that they're like, oh, when Canadians say we're different, like I can understand because we've had to deal with this post-national bullshit, which died. Don't worry about Canada now. We're nationalists now. It's just we're in the infancy stages of it. People only look at day one. It's like, okay, everything's a fail, everything's broken, blah blah. Yeah, but it takes time to right the ship, right? And the thing is this: Canadians are bad. Like, yes, we're just as divided on a lot of issues, about 50-50. The last election pretty much showed that we're the same as the Americans, the same way it is everywhere, where your population's either half crazy left or they're moving to the right, whatever. But the thing is that as a country, people are Canada first. They're not. They don't have that destructive mindset the way the radical left does in the States. They're much further gone. Our radical leftists are bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not giving them rating endorsement. I'm saying we have the better ones, but I'm saying they're not there yet. They're not like they're anti-Trump and they're anti-colonialist, right? In that sense, but what they still think in terms of multicultural kumbaya, right? So that they believe, even Mark Carney himself believes it. Like he believes in the multicultural, the mosaic. He believes in that. He's a '90s liberal. There's no doubt about that. And he thinks the experiment can work, which it can't. It doesn't. There's no proof that shows it. Anybody that's tried to prove whether it worked or not, the multicultural experiment worked or not, they're always finding no, it's dividing society. It's not making it stronger. Now, I'm not saying you have to get rid of every single immigrant in your society, but what I'm saying is you can't have illegals coming in. You can't have people just coming in and going straight on welfare. Sucking up all the, oh, we don't have the money for the retirees. Well, maybe we'll get rid of some of these fucking illegals, and we will. You know what I mean? Because it's my retirement too. Is like I'm not going to get retirement because of all these people coming in getting free stuff who have never paid a fucking cent into it, right? So yes, Canada has a problem with progressivism, but every Western country does, to the point where like it's coming to a head one way or the other. But one area is Canada, whether it's on the left or on the right, the majority of Canada is united on fuck Trump economy. Now you have the Alberta separation movement out there, which is basically funded by the states. Like they want they want Alberta. They don't want Albertans. They want Alberta. Some Albertans believe that the Americans are their friend, but they're not. It's like the second the United States takes over Alberta, all those guys working in the oil patch, they're going to be replaced by temporary foreign workers, right? If it's not already happening now, it's going to happen from our side, let alone their side. Why? Because they're cheaper. It's simple as that. Everybody's losing their jobs to these fucking cheap Indian migrant workers, right? They need to go home. We don't need like Stephen Harper took a lot of things off the temporary foreign worker program. Like it was like okay for skilled trades only, not for fucking strippers and like fast food restaurants and retail and stuff. But the retailers are using it. Like Canadian Tire, just that's what they're doing now. Like fuck the indigenous population. We're only going to hire people from the third world because it's cheaper. I say, well, we have to do that to compete. Okay, well, no, you don't have to do that to compete. This is the problem that the farmers found themselves in when down in the states. That's why like all these people that have all these crops that need to be picking, there's nobody there to pick them. Like again, I guess the idea was to put these people out of work so Bill Gates could buy up. I guess that's what Bill Gates and Trump were talking about was how to get Monsanto and Pfizer to the top of the chain, right? Again, Bill Gates and Trump are pretty much buddy. Just because he might make a funny tweet once in a while, taking pot shots at him, same like Netanyahu. It's like, oh, see, he's really not. He's really against Netanyahu. No, he's not. Like he's an egomaniac that just takes credit for everything and he'll just trash anybody. But when Netanyahu says start the war, when Israel says start the war, U.S. says how high. The U.S. does not have autonomy. Most of our countries don't. Um, so anyway, while that's going on, yes, the aircraft carriers are moving. They're nearly on station now, I think. So we could see a war with Iran. What, a $5,400 goal? It just is it going to be? Is the war going to be in January or February? That's like everybody in the world is like placing their bets on the war. Like, okay, when does it start? Like we know it's like we're just waiting for the carrier group. That's all. The Iranians, they're out there getting ready for the biggest fucking counteroffensive that you could possibly imagine. And yes, they will wipe out the U.S. bases. They will take Israel off the map. Again, if the Iranians decide to go, fuck it, this is it. Now, as far as the protests are pretty much squashed. They say about 3,000 people to 12,000 people got murdered by the state of Iran, but it's hard to say, because the Iranians still have an internet blackout. And the reason why they did the blackout, like Professor Morandi, he was saying basically like, no, you could still you could get the internet the whole time. It's just U.S. internet you couldn't, like you could get stuff from China, you can get stuff from Russia, you could use those internet sites, but it's the stuff from the States. So as soon as they shut that down, the Mossad guys couldn't coordinate properly, right? So how many Mossad guys got killed in this, and I don't know, right? But everybody judging Iran on going after, and Trump's like, don't you dare hurt those protesters or else, okay? The ICE thing is it should be an eye opener for you. Like whenever, like if you see, like the type of protests that were going on in Iran, right? If that happened in the United States, you better believe the National Guard is going to be putting bullet holes in people. They're not even going to hesitate. You pick up that Molotov cocktail, you're going to be fucking shot in the fucking head. You're going to be just, like they're, like it's going to, they would put that, people running around with flamethrowers, of course you're going to fucking shoot them. You know what I mean? Now there's rumors out there that they tried to poison Khamenei. I wouldn't doubt it because, again, we are in the coup season. You had basically Xi over there in China purge like his top generals and commanders and stuff like that. And he's done this twice already, but this time it might have. It's the guys that really the old guard type guys that want to really take out Taiwan, right? And look, I don't think Xi's stupid at all because he knows that it's not popular around the world. It's bad for business if they attack Taiwan. And number two, they can't win, without like massive, massive losses. And strategically, if China were to make a go, the only time China's going to make a go on Taiwan is if the United States is already down and crippled and can't come to their defense. That's why, because China can't, they would lose manufacturing overnight. They would lose the counter, the counter missile battery. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to take out Taiwan. It's a small island, sure, but it's not that small. You can't take it out with the entirety of China's air power overnight, right? And how many pilots do you lose, whatever. And just, you can hit them with cruise missiles for fucking 10 years straight. And it's Iwo Jima 2.0. Like, there's caves and everything. Like, they got weapons caches all over the island in caves. They've got anti-tank weapons. They've got all these I forget what they call those anti-tank concrete things there. I think I forget which Eastern European country. They're just about to put them all out. Like, we're gonna have to put them out here to keep the Americans out. You know what I mean? Like, Canada's already in mobilization. It's on the down low, but you can tell they're in mobilization, like with all the stuff we're doing in the Arctic right now. Beefing up the Arctic. Look, Canada knows the United States is going to attack us, right? I've been saying this, like I picked it out. It's like, okay, again, they keep letting it slip. And you could tell, like, Trump's goal is not to make a deal with Canada. His goal is to basically destroy Canada because he hates Canada for whatever reason, uh, and take us over. That he wants our resources because the Americans have more people than resources. That's why, like Trump had the main reason why he's so mad at Canada is because he's figured out that he can't just flip the switch like a game show host and cut off our economy without destroying his own. And people still don't get it. They like, oh, it's only 2% trade we're doing. That's just a rounding error. I'm like, yeah, look what's in that 2%. That 2% will cripple 20 to 40% of the U.S. economy if it's ever shut off. It would destroy our economy, sure. The difference, though, is we're pivoting. The biggest threat Carney made against Trump was encouraging mid powers to stand together against the superpowers, which threatens them all. And Canada is basically in a position where it has to start taking its military defense more seriously because we're stuck between three hostile superpowers. We're the monkey in the middle. Like when Russia and the United States go at it, where's the battleground? It's Canada, right? We've always been the monkey in the middle. And most people are starting to understand that you can't take sovereignty for granted, right? Now, the phone call between Carney and Trump the other night. Now, there's been a couple of phone calls that have no. I was listening to Ben Maroney, Brian Maroney's son. He's kind of a strange guy. Like when he's on his talk show, you'll like him. When he's on the CBC, you hate him. You know what I mean? But he's like kind of normie concerned. He's a chip off the old block. He's the same as his dad, basically. But sometimes he says some interesting stuff. But him and Brian Lilly, they weren't talking together, but everybody's coming up with the same thing. It's like, okay, fine. Carney said this. And then the other White House officials said, no, Carney backed down and basically groveled to Trump and said, retracted everything he said at Davos. And then Carney's out there, right in front of the CBC. No, I said what I meant. I meant what I said. I still stick by that. We had a conversation, and I explained to the ambassador that, hey, look, I did 12 trade deals in 6 months, and he was impressed, right? Okay, so that's what he said in public. Okay, so we hold him to that. What did he say behind closed doors? Don't know. Why? Because he can't get the transcripts. Does it matter? No, it's what he said in public. Put up or shut up. That's what we hold him accountable to. So if we get the transcripts and he was like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, I didn't mean to offend you, Your Highness, your leader. Okay, we can call him all kinds of names and whatever. But at the end of the day, Carney is still not what he says, but what is he done? Okay, you don't like Carney. Fine. But has he done 12 trade deals in 6 months? He has. Has Trump done that? No, he hasn't. You know what I mean? So if Trump got these trade deals that Carney got, his base would be praising him, and rightfully so, right? And rightfully so. Again, I don't like Carney as a man. I don't particularly like. I don't hate the man yet, but I don't like him. I don't agree with a lot of what he's doing. But when he's right, he's right. When he's doing right by us, I have to call that out. Don't I can go on forever in a day and bitch about all the things he needs to fix. But I understand you can't fix that overnight. Okay, if our population is shrinking, even if it's not fast enough, at least it's working in the right direction. But who's leaving the country? Is it just our capital leaving the country? A bit of that. There's some boomers leaving the country. Okay, there's that. People with money, whatever. But they're mostly immigrants leaving the country, right? Okay, that's kind of what we want. It's just, can you make it a little bit faster? But maybe it has to be that way. Maybe we have to shrink by 120,000 people a year for the next 10 years. That'd be 1.2 million people to slowly catch up and balance things out. This idea of just building more houses just to keep the banking cartel happy, enough of that. It's like, okay, we're over capacity. We do not have the infrastructure to manage all these people, especially these people that just come in and go on welfare. Now, the people that come in and work, okay, I admire that, But we gotta, what kind of people are we going to be bringing in? If we're just bringing in people to take up all the student jobs, that no, that these temporary foreign workers, there's just too many of them. They have to go back. You know what I mean? We don't need them. It hurts our own population. Even hurts the people that come in thinking they're getting a great deal. No, they're just going to be underpaid. That's not fair. I think a temporary foreign worker should be a thing of desperation where if we really need them, you have to pay them at least 15% to 25% more than an actual citizen, a born citizen. The reason being is to discourage the use of them. So you only get them because you cannot get anybody else to do it. Then yes. And it's more fair to the immigrant as well. I know a lot of people think I hold contradictory positions here, but I don't. Like, it's no, like, I've never been for mass immigration ever. A multicultural society, to a degree, can function, but people typically don't integrate. They typically bring their culture and adapt to that, right? So you gotta give people tap on, tap off. Like right now, we need to completely shut off immigration altogether. No refugees, no nothing. Just and start emigrating people back to their countries. It's that or we're going to collapse, right? Because we cannot sustain the weight of all this free stuff going out to people who've never paid a cent into it. And then we have the nerve to tell like the veterans, oh, you're asking too much. The retirees, oh, well, we can't fund the retirement. You know what I mean? And students, oh, well, you can't have jobs because, like our youth, because you can't have jobs. You can't even get a starter job because we have to give it to an underpaid immigrant, temporary foreign worker. Like, there's just so many problems with this, right? So Carney, the indications are he's moving in the right direction, but he has to do it, without pissing off his base too, right? So I'm not saying he's the good guy or anything like that. I'm saying the numbers are showing us positivity in areas, right? So again, like we need to see at least 1 million people a month leave if we want to like stabilize housing prices and stuff like that. We have to get the foreign housing. No foreigner should be allowed to own a house in Canada. Period. No foreigner should be that lives abroad with a dual citizen or whatever should be allowed to own property in Canada. Like that. That just should be a no. But anyway, I digress. So the other thing that is Doug Ford, and again, you'll never see this in the States. Doug Ford and Mark Carney. Okay, Doug Ford pissed off about the Chinese thing. Okay, so Mark Carney was in the conference and he was like, "Yeah, I went and had Hawaiian pizza with Doug Ford. Doug Ford, who's mad about this EV deal, right? And the EV deal, a lot of people are just going off on it. It's like, do you know what's in the deal, though? You know what I mean? Yes, there are. Of course, the critique is there's no safeguards against China. They're just going to come in and run rickshaw over us. That's a possibility, right? That's a possibility, but it's a policy. What has happened here? So what Carney has done, okay? Who Doug Ford completely mad about the EV thing? You're going to take away Canadian jobs. You're going to take away Ontario's jobs in Ontario. It's going to hurt our manufacturing. Blah 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 blah. I don't know all the details of this deal. But when Carney was in China, the deal went something like this. It's not a free trade deal. What it is was rectifying some of the trade disputes. So the canola people, the farmers next year, they're going to be back on track with the tariffs that were previously had. So China's restored that. And in favor, what we said was, okay, you could bring EVs in here, but you have to make them here. So jobs here. So this might be a good deal. And China's probably looking at it, well, we don't care as long as we make money off it, right? So we'll see how it plays out. That's my understanding of it. So when Doug Ford probably hears, yeah, okay, here, I'll buy you pizza. It doesn't matter. Carney's not paying for it. It's on the taxpayer anyway, so both of them are going to get free pizza, right? Doug Ford comes out of this with a smile on his face. So what did Carney really tell him? We don't know all the details, but it's probably something along, yeah, you're about to get a boost in manufacturing, you dummy. So that said, hopefully while he was at it, say, well, Mr. Carney, while you're here, maybe you want to back off on that gun thing. Like it's really a waste of money, and it's really not, people around the country do not want it. Like don't just appease that one little group. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that's what Carney's going to do is just kick that gun buyback can down the road. I hope that's what he's going to do because he has to signal to his base that he's going to do that. But it's only the radical left that wants the gun confiscation. Most liberals are okay with gun ownership, and with everything going on, the 51st state rhetoric, Carney can say, well, we're going to keep our gun owners for now because it's a national security issue that law-abiding people. I mean, all he has to do is come out and just show the actual statistics and facts. The normies will go along with it. They'll be on our side. That's why you never get a lot of good gun debates on the CBC because every time Rob Giltaca goes on there, he owns their ass, right? It's like, well, no, you guys lie. That's 40% of women are women households with guns. 40% of women in households with guns are not likely to get killed by firearms. The bodies don't. There's no bodies. That this is just false. Like a woman's 40% more likely to get murdered in a household with a firearm. It's just not true. It's a made-up statistic. Like there's no way, and it's not. It comes out of the Coalition for Gun Control. They don't do research. They make things up. Where our side is cross the T's, dot the I's, and all that. So whatever Carney said to Trump, I think a lot of these phone calls are probably pretty volatile. And I'm thinking Carney is starting to realize that he has way more power over Trump than he realizes. And a lot of people criticize Carney for being a yes man to Trump. Okay, when you're in front of his face, you tell him what he wants to hear, and then you go stab him in the back when as soon as Trump turns his back. Yeah, that's Carney's strategy. We all agree on that. But that's every world leader. Like Trump sits there and he runs his mouth and runs his mouth and runs his mouth. As Ramsey Paul, who again a guy on the right who voted for Trump, he's like, look, Trump is like speak loudly and carry a small stick, and the taco. Right? Like he's like, okay, just Trump is the worst negotiator I've ever seen. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's true. Carney, okay, now mind you, we do have a very, very, I got to make sure I mention this, that there might be a streamlining between our currencies from the Bank of Canada to the Federal Reserve that could make it more dangerous for us, but I'll get into that in a minute. But what Carney is saying, he's sticking to, in front of the cameras, I'm sticking to my guns. We're still going to keep We're still going to keep doing what we're doing. I explained the Chinese deals with, again, maybe he expands more trade with China, maybe not. But it depends. What depends with that is how much investment he allows of Chinese investment into Canada. That's where I'm concerned. I don't like that idea at all. Why China owns too much in our country already. But you can't sit there and call Carney a traitor or whatever when Trump has pushed us to that point where we have to look elsewhere. Because under no circumstance can the Americans be trusted, to make a trade deal with, right? Because this is what the world is saying. It was like, look, it's not just about Trump, it's what comes after Trump. Can we trust the American people not to elect somebody like that again, because people don't like like when you make a trade deal with Canada, you might have disputes down the road, but overall the trade is honored. It's like a deal's a deal. With Trump, it's, your deal changes every 5 minutes. Nobody can deal with that. Volkswagen, they're pulling, a manufacturing line out of like the Americans are just losing so much business. You're really going to start to notice it early spring, where that quarter is just going to be devastating in the States. The amount of business that has been lost in the United States, again, it's one of those things. Every time the United States loses, we're there to pick it up. We're there to snag that business on you. And the thing is, once that business comes up here to Canada, it's never going to go back to the States. You know what I mean? Why? Because we're considered a reliable trade partner. You are not. That's Trump. That's Trump's betrayed the United States for the next 30 to 50 years. No U.S. politician will ever be trusted. The American people are not trusted by other governments. It's just like, no, these people are too volatile. It's too unstable. And you're losing business because of that. And again, because of one administration, right? So when you listen to the bolster coming out, and again, it's getting less and less. More people are starting to realize that, and I understand the double down effect. We see it on the left all the time. But like the MAGA people, no, Trump's he's fighting the globalists. He's going after the deep states. The Q people said so because they have an inside source. And it's like, okay, yeah, but the numbers, okay, yes, you can dispute the numbers, but at some point when it's like these numbers, and these numbers, and these numbers are all kind of telling you the same thing, at some point it's just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, like there is no golden age coming for the United States. There's no, unless Trump pulls a 4D chess move that we just didn't see coming. Uh, you know what I mean? Like it's like Trump understands that like he lost credibility. Again, I call it the moon over Parador scenario. If you ever seen the movie with Richard Dreyfuss and Raul Julian, Trump is like the Raul Julian character, and Carney's kind of like the Richard Dreyfuss character, where he gets this threat. He's terrible. Trump threatens him, and he's terrified. Oh my God, we got to do something. We got to do something. We got to react. Okay. He wants us to beef up the border. Okay, we'll buy some Black Hawks from the Americans. Show of and we'll use them to patrol the borders. Although they don't, it wasn't probably the greatest use of money. We'll cut down on the border, and we did. Did we do well enough? Maybe not well enough, but we did. Stop a lot of the illegal immigration and stuff like that. The drugs, yeah, we've cracked down on that as well. Again, there's always stuff that gets through, but it's really a nothing burger in comparison to the Mexican border, right? And it wasn't good enough for Trump. He moved the goalpost. Oh, not good enough. So we complied, not good enough. And then there was something else, and then something else, and every time Trump just keeps moving the goalpost because there's no deal to be made. So Carney figured it out early on that I can't appease Trump. Trump wants to just take over. He wants to destroy us. That's but he can't come out and just say that. Why? Because when you're politicking and being a statesman, you see what Carney is doing. He's basically pulling a Stephen Harper. Keep it. The biggest thing was the other day. When the CBC was trying to get what's your reaction to Trump's claims on this and this, and Carney just. Well, whatever, like kind of like I get called a lot of things, complete dismissal. And if you ever want to fucking enrage a bully or a psychopath, you dismiss their power that way. Could you imagine the president of the United States is just been told his opinion's not relevant, And by the way, and then Carney, after especially around Trump pissing off all the veterans, look. I beat up on the law enforcement military for not standing up for the people all the time. I call them cowards all the time. Whatever. Sure. I beat up on them for not doing the right thing. And I'm always encouraging that they do the right thing because, look, up here in Canada, RCMP and law enforcement are like, hey, this gun grab's going to affect me too. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? I'm going to have to give up my guns, my personal guns, right? I'm sure they'll make an exemption for that so they can get them to, you know what I mean? So it's like, hey, we're creating our own prison here. You know what I mean? So yes, the law enforcement military have to do the right thing at some fucking point. And they, if Trump is not going to go after, and the judges and lawyers are not going to go after the Epstein people, maybe the law enforcement military need to take it on their own, to do this. So you're going to see a coup one way or the other, but I digress. But the big one is when Trump dismissed all the fucking coalition forces that fought in Iraq, Afghanistan. Carney dismantled Trump so badly and humiliated him very badly doing this because all he had to do was not attack Trump, but just state the fact. And the fact was this: we sent this many people. Like it was like 40,000 Canadians went and fought for, in Afghanistan. We lost 158 soldiers and one diplomat. And many soldiers got the awarded, American medals. I think whichever medals. You say that, it's like, well, even like we use like, well, basically, even the U.S. military gave Canadians medal of valor to Canadian soldiers for what they did in Afghanistan. So I stand by that. Does that not throw egg on the face of the tyrant? You know what I mean? That, like Trump can't do anything about that. He can call Carney a governor, but Carney's like, yeah, but my soldiers got your medals. You know what I mean? Like who wins that? That statesman award right there. Again, you might not like Carney, but that's exactly how you're supposed to act. The world noticed Carney's speech. They did. And that's the dangerous part. That's what's enraging Trump. That's why he's threatening more military force against us. That's why he's doing that. Look, people in Greenland the other night, okay, just let this sink in. Think about people in Greenland. These are peaceful people, whether they're of European descent or Inuit descent, it doesn't matter. These are people that live in harmony. They live off the land, off the ocean. They don't fuck with anybody. Okay, their power goes out. And they thought that was it. They thought because that's what the Americans do. They knock out your power, your food supply, your heating, whatever, your water supply, and then they attack you, right? A lot of people thought that's what was going on. No, it was just high winds knocked out the power. It just be a fluke. But people that live in the middle of nowhere, not fucking with anybody, are scared of the United States destroying them for no reason. For no reason. And you know what I mean? Like this national security preemptive strike neocon doctrine, foreign policy is just, it doesn't work. Like the world's not going to tolerate it. It's just the only thing now is that the world notices it because the crazy Zionist neocons, whether they're on the left or on the right, has turned it on the West. Right? It's because we're used to seeing that U.S. foreign policy being used against the Middle East and the African countries, not against our own, right? But that's what happens when you have the military-industrial complex go so nuts on us, right? So so Carney is sticking to his guns according to his word. Now we have to just watch what he does. Not what he says, but what he does. Trump's only reaction to this can be vitriol. That's it. He can't back down from Carney, right? Because, we're supposed to be insignificant, whatever. So Carney also has another playing card, and that's basically holding Trump to his account. Okay, you want to put 100% tariff on Canada in the Kuzma thing when we negotiate that? Okay, go ahead. Do it. Yeah, you'll destroy the Canadian economy, but you destroy your own as well. This idea that Canada has no leverage over the United States. It's like we probably have more leverage over the United States than any other country in the world. Why? Because of the trade we do. Don't just look at the number. Look at what's traded. If you cut off Canada, if Trump flips the switch and cuts off Canada, Canada can always find new customers. Yes, it'll be super disruptive and destroy thousands and thousands, probably more than half our economy overnight. But 6 months later, would be down by maybe about 25%. And then about 2 years later, we'll be fully recovered. You know what I mean? And yeah, it'll be a rocky thing. And yes, the Maple MAGAs, if you want to call them that. I know I'm lobbying a lot of people in one group, but just as a description, the people that just want to see Canada fail, basically, the separatists, the whatever. These people, I understand, not all of them are bad. I understand that. It's just they're deracinated from the Trudeau years, and that anything Carney does, he's a globalist, therefore he's complete evil. Look, I'm against globalism too. You guys know that. I'm a nationalist, right? But I'm also not stupid. I'm like, okay, more money, making more money versus less money, diversifying trade versus not diversifying trade. I'm going to go for diversified trade. You know what I mean? And making more money every time. You know what I mean? It's just where I'm going to critique is it at what expense? That is where we need to critique, right? Carney's doing what governments are supposed to be doing, flying around the world, getting all these trade deals. So if we get just trade, what do you call it? 12 trade deals a year, okay? And Carney's in power for the next 4 years. That's 48 new trade deals. That will outclass Stephen Harper. Even Stephen Harper couldn't do, he did 45 trade deals in 10 years. Statesman of the Year, year after year after year, because no other politician ever accomplished that in the world. Think about that. Let that part sink in. And I think Carney has a lot of Stephen Harper era mentality, which is a good thing for Canada. It might not, like we critique it, but at least if we could stabilize the ship, then we can critique over. Do we want the ship being captained by a right wing or a left wing or a nationalist or whatever? But let's fucking get things back on order. Let's get people back to work. Let's get people out of the streets. Let's deal with those problems first. The best way to deal with the homeless problem is get rid of the illegal aliens, stuff like that. The reason, like, look, you got all these people showing up from India. They get a job and they still go to and fucking rape our fucking food banks, right? And then you say, well, that's just being racist. No, you're stealing from the poorest of the poor. Again, because it's why they're a different culture. They do that. They don't mind scamming each other. I'm not saying they're all like that, but it's a trend, right? And yeah. So anyway, again, I'm not opposed to people coming here and contributing, but mass immigration has got to stop. And if we don't, we can't save the country. That is what it doesn't solve all of our problems, but it will solve probably 90% of our problems just by repatriating people. And we got to do it at a rate that's, feasible, sure. But, like if we could get, like, I'd like to see like 1 million people a week leave. At least 18 million people leave, on their own, whatever. Because it's about 18 million people we have on welfare and stuff. I know not all of them, like not welfare, just welfare, but like government handouts goes to about 18 million people in Canada. That's half our population, basically, out of 41 million people. When we hit 44 million people, that's when I think everything explodes to the point where it's like, okay, if these people are not gone by Wednesday, if we can get like 300,000 people self-deporting each week, the easiest way to do that is just start bringing in workfare. You get rid of the welfare recipients so we can put that money back into our hospitals, into other things. Our military. Look, we need not 80 soft grippins. We need 2,600 to 26,000 soft grippins. We need not 80 tanks, but 26,000 tanks. We need not 60 mobile artillery. We need 2,600 to 26,000 mobile artillery. I'm talking Soviet era levels of machinery. We need 2.6 million drones, personal drones, and at least 260,000 cruise missiles, right? And then we need probably another 2.6 million ballistic long-range intercontinental rockets with thermobaric heads. We have that, and we display that. Nobody fucks with us ever. You know what I mean? Don't worry about the Arctic, guys. We won't even have to go up there. It'd be like, yeah, we'll just fire a rocket and take them out. You know what I mean? The Iranians and the Iran and Ukraine and Russia figured out how modern warfare is going to go. Right? It's like we got these little drones now. They've been building these things for a long time, but they basically, they're infantrymen. Drone versions of infantrymen. They fly around with like M16s or Steyr AUGs, basically detach them. But they're getting to the point where they can shoot stably. So picture like a gunship helicopter this big, rifle size. That would be, and then then you crash it in and blow it up. You know how devastating that's going to be. You know what I mean? Drone warfare, anti-tank. Oh yeah, we need about 26,000. NWAL anti-tank weapons. stuff like that, and about 26,000 MADPAM launchers. You have that, and about 260 heavy air defense systems to 520 heavy air defense systems, and then about 2,600 medium, like LAV style air defense systems, like the ADATs. Nobody can fuck with you. Nobody can fuck with you. And then about 52,000 120 millimeter mortars. No, and mobilized. Nobody, like, you won't even have to dig trenches. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, come ahead. See what happens to you. Yeah, that's what we need. Now, what would that cost? Well, if we build it all here, you build it up over the next couple of decades. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't really matter what you have. It's just the numbers. You know what I mean? Look, there's a way to do things cheaply, right? Stopgap is one way to do it. If the money was there, effective immediately, we could have 2,600 Leopards overnight. Well, maybe take like 2 months, 3 months of coming across the ocean to get here. Yeah, they might be older variants, but you'd have 2,600 of them. Right there, that kind of makes you invasion proof. In 6 months, how many more drones? Like we probably made about 200,000 drones already for the Ukraine. Well, we got to start putting that for ourselves. The NASAMS, you start putting those things out. There's 72 missiles in a battery, right? Built 260 of those, just plop them all over the country. You know what I mean? North, south, whatever. Anti-stealth radar, those over-the-horizon radar systems. The subs, everything we're going to be getting in 10 years is going to be good. The problem is are we going to be invaded before that? Well, if Carney keeps pissing off Trump by checkmating him every time, like so far, like I said, right from the get-go, and I know people don't believe me, but Carney has been outplaying Trump almost at every corner. Now, have we been taking losses? Absolutely. We've taken a lot of job losses, but we've recovered a lot of job losses. The Americans have not. This is the difference. So Trump has got the United States in the worst predicament ever. $5,200 gold, guys. Like, do I need to say more? Does that make America first? And you're about to start another war in Iran, possibly Cuba, possibly with us, possibly with Greece. Like, who knows where they're going to invade next, right? And if they try all fronts all at once, like, look, Xi was smart enough to knock out his insane generals. He's done this a couple of times. And I'm pretty sure it's mainly over the Taiwan issue. Now they're saying, yeah, well, one of his generals has actual, that he took out, had actual combat experience, which is kind of rare for the Chinese. They don't have a lot of combat experience, right? But that guy's like 90 fucking years old or 85 years old. Like, a combat experience from fucking the Korean War. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that's a different time. And the thing about it is that Canada is doing that pivot. Xi is not an insane man. He's not drunk with power in the sense of military chauvinism is the best way. Like that greater Chinese Maoist, we're going to conquer the world type of thing. He's a businessman. Xi is a businessman. He's dictator for life. I get that. So of course coups are going to happen, and once they do take out Xi, and they will. Look, they may have just tried to poison Khomeini, right? But it doesn't really matter because it's the lines of secession that is the fail-safe, right? So like in Iran, you could take out the Ayatollah, but there's another one ready to step up. And their whole system is like that. It was the same when they took out Soleimani. Yes, Soleimani was the best general they have, but they have like 10 generals just as good as him that come up as the next guy, right? And this is something that the United States and Israel can't get ahead of. The Iranians are too smart. I'm not for the Iranian regime, but they know how to counter. And they know how to buy time, and they know how to do measured response. So measured response against the next wave of attacks, which are really unprovoked. Like, what are they going to say? Well, we have to go get retribution for the protesters that were running around with AKs and flamethrowers. You know what I mean? Like, what, because Israel told us we had to do it because, we have to do this preemptive strike on Iran because of the nuclear program. But it'd be like, Trump, you took out the Iranian nuclear program. You said so. So now why are you going back? Like, you know what I mean? Like, people are asking these questions, right? So Trump is really fucked. He's really fucked himself because he's done everything against what he got elected to do, except for maybe some of the ICE stuff. But he's not balancing the budget, not even close. Again, $5,200 gold, guys. Does that sound like a balance? Attempting of balancing the budget? No. Like these raids are super expensive. Now, mind you, it also is a part of the death and debt-based economy the Americans have. Take our petrodollar or we drop democracy, J-Dams on you. Look, Japan is imploding. It's imploding on U.S. debt. It's basically, it can't sustain the United States anymore. Everybody around the world is slowly dumping treasuries. What do you think $5,200 gold is about? You know what I mean? And it's going to skyrocket. When that debt comes home to roost, they better burn that up and dropping bombs, or the Americans are going to die. Like you're going to have like hyperinflation like you wouldn't believe. I told you guys February is the month to watch for the beginnings of the starvation in the United States. I know most of you don't believe that's going to happen. It's still all entertainment at this point. But most of you by March or April are going to be out of work. And you're never going to work another day in your life because there's going to be no work for you. Why? Because there's more people in the States than there is jobs. And then on top of that, it gets even worse. The inflation with the food shortages. Again, listen to the farmers. They're already telling you, guys, we're not going to make it. Once you see the United States starting to, and they're going to do it on the hush hush, so you'll have to watch out for it. But once they start pulling back food aid to the third world, you'll hear of, oh my God, Africa's starting to experience another fucking food shortage again, like we saw in 2011, 2012. Remember the Tunisian merchants out there lighting themselves on fire in protest because they were starving to death? The Arab uprising, the beginnings of the Arab uprisings. What do you think that was all about? That was about the food supply. That's what it was. Why did that happen? Because in 2008, that hiccup, cut a lot of investments, which cut down the food supply. It wasn't global warming. It wasn't climate change. It was lack of money. It was lack of. Now, take away probably 25 or 30% of the farm hands that were picking the food in the United States. Those are the people that left the country. You've got farmers in tears going, I have nobody to pick my crops and I'm on the debt for $97,000. Like $1 million crops on top of that. Just farm after farm after farm. Like everywhere you look in the States, the farming is in crisis big time. Oh, well, we'll just give them $12 billion. No. What the American establishment, look, Bill Gates believes in net zero. So it's like, well, if we cut this food supply down and I buy up the farms, it doesn't matter if, a few thousand people starve to death. That's fine. If a few million people die, well, that'd be good for net zero. Again, these people are fucking insane. And Trump is on board with Bill Gates. Like, he's fighting, he's fighting the Bill Gates. Oh, again, Trump says stuff, but it's not what he says, it's what he does. You couldn't have made it easier for Bill Gates to buy up the farms, right? Just put him out of work. That's all you had to do, right? And mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. So, guys, I don't know what else to tell you, but like again, $5,200 gold. If you understand what that truly means, you should be fucking terrified. I'm not trying to put fear out there, but I'm just like, yeah, this is, and it's not reversing. I'm telling people, like, guys, it's not a trend. Like the stock market, like you can't follow those trends because they're manipulated. Like the stock market is propped up beyond belief by more than double. Like again, either you understand it or you don't. Gold and silver are not going up. Your currency is coming down, and it's everywhere. I mean, look, we have enough of everything crisis in Canada too. The only difference is we're pivoting in a positive direction. The question is, can Carney outrun the collapse of the United States? I don't think we're going to get out of this unscathed, no matter where you are in the world. So just, whether you like the guy, don't like the guy, whether you're still a Trump supporter, whether you're not, I think there's less and less by the day. I think most people are starting to get it. No, he lied. They all lie. I get it. That's what they all do. Carney lies too, but Carney, I guess, cares more about his stakeholder capitalists than Trump does. I don't know. So take the win, right? Because it's going to be short lived anyway. But that said, Canada's in a better position to stand on its own 2 feet as it decouples, right? We're already pivoting. So the idea is not to wait till the next crisis hits, but to get out ahead of it. And that's what Carney is doing, whether you like him or not. That's what he is doing. It's not a reigning endorsement of the man. It is just telling you that's what he's doing. Okay. Now, that said, the right has taken a hammering for decades, right? Obama, Cameron, Trudeau, you name all these people, right? Biden, we've taken a hammer. And Trump, we were on the offensive. We were on the offensive. But we've been basically rug pulled by our own side, Trump. So Trump has basically pulled a Nigel Farage on the right. But the difference was Nigel Farage only took out the Tories in the UK. And now you can see he's basically no different than the globalists right now. He says the odd thing that you like, but, at the end of the day, no, he's not going to do anything about mass immigration. He's not going to do anything. You know what I mean? It's new boss, same as the old boss. The only difference is the momentum on the right has been rug pulled there. But Trump took it beyond, masterclass. He rug pulled the entire right wing of the world, meaning that the normies will always vote to the left now until they really start hurting by the left, right? The societies are almost completely polarized 50-50. The problem is the populist nationalism is moving towards separation rather than reconquista of their government, saying, okay, well, rather than just walking away from it all, like the Albertans would be better off to, advocate for change, from a policy level. Yes, it's going to be hard fought. Yes, it's an uphill battle. There's no doubt about that. Name a place around the world where the right isn't really has actually any control, without being controlled by like Israel or whatever. What's coming out is that, and you're even seeing American servicemen, active duty American servicemen coming out saying, look, I just got disciplined for Facebook posts because as a U.S. soldier, I posted I was against the genocide in Gaza, right? And now I'm considered a national security threat. So when you have that in your own military, it's only a matter of time before you see the coups. But again, I don't think Trump's going to live to the end of the year, not making any threats, but I just don't see how he's not taken out, by his own side. Again, I'm still saying it's most likely going to be a MAGA veteran that's going to take him out, or a group of guys, whatever. You're going to see insurrection in the States, like true insurrection, not this LARPing stuff, but, you're going to see it. And then right after that, you get your Civil War. Once the left takes power, you get Civil War because the left is going to crack down so hard with hate speech laws and like that. Like, we're going to lose everything, So, pick up some board games, some books, stuff to keep yourself occupied. Stay out of the protests. At this point, stage of the game, I get it. If you're gonna, make videos online, stuff like that, do that. But understand, at some point, they are going to throw us all in the gulag, self-included, right? Why? Because the brave law enforcement military do whatever they're told. They don't care who they shoot at. They never did. They never will. Unless you see them, again, look, the MAGA people are still pissed about the Epstein thing, right? And rightfully so. It's the everything crisis. And Trump, unfortunately, is on the side of the globalists. It's mob bosses fighting, this globalist versus that globalist. I called this back in 2012 when I said, they all, it's the New World Order chair. They all want to sit in it. It's a bloody chair to sit in, so they're going to knock each other off. Look, just this month, you've had an attempt on Xi, an attempt on Khamenei, right? An attempt like on JD Vance, like the list goes on of like politicians that have been attacked, right? This is going to be the new thing. It's mostly going to be left wing attacks for now, but it's going to get countered at some point. Why? Because we have no rule of law in any Western country, just the illusion of it. So the radicals are going to be attacking in vigilante justice. That's what happens when you allow all these, ICE protesters to challenge the ICE people toe to toe. They get shot in the face. So when do the insurrection terrorist attacks come out of that? You know what I mean? It's going to happen. You know what I mean? But don't make no mistake. The government wants this, whether they're on the left or on the right. Why? Because they get to take away rights and insert more power. They're going to do it. The Amelia thing. Let's talk about the Amelia thing. Okay, this is where the right actually really dominates. So there's this thing they're putting it in the schools and stuff like that in the UK. It's called Pathways. And what they did is they took this meme girl, okay, this pretty meme girl, made her a far right conspiracy, whatever, and she entices this confused teenage boy who doesn't know what to believe, and he wants to partake in the far right protest because he sees the radical online rhetoric about mass immigration and Islamic takeover and all that and stuff like that, and the right is just completely like fucking fully fucking embraced this and walked into it, and it's like basically Amelia has become the far right sweetheart. Like it was just meme after, like, just completely stolen. If you want to call it left wing stolen valor, you know what I mean? Just completely illegitimize this. Like they put, and Sargon he was killing himself laughing at this. He was like, you put the exact thing that would entice a young man to join the far right, like an attractive young lady, anti-feminist, pro-right talking points. Like, yeah, guys are dreaming of this girl. The only thing they got wrong was maybe the purple hair. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah. It's like, oh yeah. So you're seeing all these like fucking Amelia memes. They're just glorious, and that's where we win. That's where we take the piss out of them. That we don't win in the streets. We win in the memes. We win in the online debates, and that's where I think we cover more ground anyway. The best thing we could do, okay, is document. If you do go to these protests, stay far back from them. Don't engage with them. Just document it. Just document these unhinged people doing these things. Like we see the last 10 seconds of the incident. We don't see the 45 minutes of the people like dangerously taunting the ICE guys. We don't see that, right? We just see this guy just overreacted, this untrained guy. These guys are not untrained. These guys are showing way more discipline than you could possibly imagine. I'm not saying I like the idea that people are getting killed. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there's always more to the story. Don't just react. Like it's always the same thing. The camera only shows you that last 10 seconds. You know what I mean? Shiloh Hendricks, right? Remember her using the N-word on that immigrant guy? Oh my gosh, he was a white supremacist racist. Yeah, you didn't get to see the 20 minutes of him harassing her and her daughter, right? It changes things. You know why? Because, consistency has to be there. So it's like, okay, well, you can see how it happens now. Okay, you're going to challenge people with the guns. You're throwing, basically piss bombs on them. Okay, that's not worthy of being shot, but you're throwing Molotov cocktails at them. That is worthy. In my opinion, if somebody throws a Molotov cocktail at you, you have the right to fucking smoke them. You know what I mean? Like, that is a terrorist act. You know what I mean? They throw nail bombs at you, whatever. That's not protesting. That's terrorism. You know what I mean? When it is what it is, and it's gonna devolve into something worse, sure. But the thing is that we can still capture most of the higher ground. This is why there's so much censorship, is because they can't counter our arguments. Most people, even in the center, even the average normie, is probably going to more side with our arguments than they are with the radical left. Okay, arguing for nationalism, And the problems of mass immigration is a lot easier than why we need to be diversity is our strength and allow pedophile rings and people shitting all over the place, like people like again just showing like the UK where all these immigrants move in and there's just fucking garbage everywhere, showing pictures of it before, and it's like, okay, well, you're considered a racist, that's considered hate speech, and you'll go to jail if you show footage of that. It's like, okay, well, maybe we should be at the people that are, arresting us for that. Maybe we should be, holding these leftist judges to account when, people get out and, for the 15th time and murder people. You know what I mean? Like, again, and it's always the same. These, you see all these white girls getting murdered, particularly by these guys that have murdered people before. You know what I mean? Like, and it's over and over and over again. Like there's like a meme on the right, like it's like the left martyrs the most, like the people they admire and martyr the most are like the most disgraceful people. Like your George Floyd's, like the guy was a horrible fucking human being. Did he deserve to die? No. Did he OD? I don't know, right? But you get the idea. Like it's like when you start looking into the people, like this lady that got shot, in the, like it's like, okay, yeah, she wasn't a nice person. They're like, oh, she was such a great person. She wasn't a nice person. She had her children taken away because she was letting her partner burn her children with cigarette butts. Like, I mean, what kind of person is that? You know what I mean? Why do these people have all this time on their hand to go protest all the time? They don't work. They're mentally ill. They got all these problems. You know what I mean? And I feel bad for them in the sense that they're being used as pawns for they're basically being used as pawns, right? Being encouraged to put themselves in harm's way. They're not logical people. Even if they have the convictions and believe they believe their own religion and rhetoric, okay, fine, give them that. But they're not logical. They're definitely not the radical left is definitely not logical. There's nothing logical about them. But anyway, I could digress. But yeah, the Amelia thing is pretty. That's us protesting the right way. That's us. And I'm not saying you shouldn't get together in real life. You should form groups and stuff like that. But rather than being protest groups, be the beacon of a group showing what you stand for rather than what you oppose. Because nobody cares about what you oppose, right? They care for what you got to be, like for example, you've probably seen this footage. The guys that dress up in like an early 1900s gentleman stuff, and they walk through a mall, and like these guys just stand out so much. They look so swag and so they got their hats, they got their coats and all that, and like it's not quite like a suit or whatever, but it's just like they just like the persona is just a wow, I want to be that. It's basically 1900s gentleman swagger is the best way I could describe it, and it's just like when people see that, there's like, wow, that's cool. I want to be a part of that, right? It has an intimidation factor of like, you see this guy, he might not have his life together, but you just make that assumption that anybody that's that sharp dressed has got to be somebody who's got his shit together, right? I want to be that. And that's what we need to do is be that, be that shining beacon for people. We win long term that way. Take care of our own. Look, the left, they might fight amongst their own, but they will eviscerate anybody around them, even while they're fighting amongst themselves. They unify like that. The right has this hyper individualistic standing on my moral high ground, blah blah blah, and they punch right all the time. The left doesn't do it. The left just simply will not call out their own. You know what I mean? And I'm not with the never apologize, whatever. No, I'm not with that. I'm saying be consistent. You can call out your own, sure, but make sure you call out the left more. Right now, it sounds like I call out the right more. But no, be consistent on, okay, this is the right thing to do, whether it's on the left or the right, that's the right thing to do. This is not the right thing to do, right? And that's all that matters in the end of the day is following the right-hand path. Because when you do, it doesn't matter if you have nuance of difference. What matters is that long-term your society is going to benefit, right? So if, you could be left-wing and still right-hand path. You could be right-wing and still left-hand path, right? It's basically survivalist versus nihilist. That's the world we're in right now. Look, we're going to be going under authoritarianism no matter which way we go. It's just the question, is it going to be the left boot or the right boot? That's the only question. We're in an insolvent situation. $5,200 gold. You can't reconcile with the left. The left has gone completely unhinged, insane, right? They're insufferable. You can only avoid them. Let them implode on themselves, right? But that said, you have to survive it. The only way out is through this chaos. And the faster we get through the chaos, I'm not an accelerationist because, accelerationism never lands where you think you want it to land. But we do have to, the quicker we can get through this chaos, the better. But we have to guide through. We have to navigate these waters that are so dangerous because it's so easy. Again, my number one New Year's resolution is don't die. You know what I mean? Why? Because there's just so many things that are going to be trying to kill us by, probably by midsummer. Whether you're just like, okay, I'm going to go shopping today and you get killed in the crossfire of two protesters. You get stabbed by diversity. You know what I mean? And now I don't have to worry about that stuff as much up here, but when I'm out and about, no matter where you are, keep your head on a swivel. People are not doing well. You've got all these people killing people just because, oh, well, that person is right wing or they're white or whatever. And the judges are letting these people pretty much go, right? It's like, oh, well, they didn't mean it because, because of their oppressed background, we're going to show them leniency and they'll be out in a couple of months. It's crazy. But don't comply with a gun grab, you're going to go to jail for 17 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's just completely unhinged. It's completely unhinged. So it's just like, where does it all end? I don't know. But, you're going to have to survive it. Borders are going to change. We are going to see coups. Friends are going to be attacking each other, unfortunately. Yes, the United States is going to use military force and provoke military force in Canada. They're going to do it probably around the Great Lakes first or the Arctic, right? The United States is going to start to fly their aircraft in our airspace, okay? This is, we're going to have to challenge that, right? And it's not going to be pretty. This scenario is going to exist. Trump is probably going to order a bunch of F-35s to fly over Ottawa, right? And he's going to do that. We're going to shoot them down. Why? Because we're going to take it as an invasion, or we're going to capture them, or we're going to, chase them off. It'll be an international incident. Once we respond, then Trump has to, that's what he wants. It's like, well, the Canadians killed our guys over their territory. We got to get retribution. And most Americans, you know how they are. Like, it's like, oh, okay, we attacked the country and they fought back. Well, we got to go get revenge. They killed our guys. It's like, yeah, but you're in their territory. Like, you know what I mean? Like, anybody that dies overseas can't sit there and bitch and whine about it because, or whine about being attacked because you're in their country. What did you think was going to happen? What, the Taliban wasn't going to fight you? Of course they were. You know what I mean? It's like, this is, like the Greenlanders. I was watching a guy last night. I guess he was an American. He's like, look, he goes like, these people shoot fucking elk at 500 yards. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they have bolt action hunting rifles, but there's 30 some thousand hunting rifles. I don't know how many semi-autos, or whatever, in Greenland. And you have to understand the Greenlanders. Okay, Trump made fun of the dog sleds, right? Yeah, who was shooting Nazis? Trying to get into Greenland out there on the ice. Yeah, basically Eskimos with dog sleds were shooting Nazis in World War II, defending Greenland. Yeah, don't dismiss the fucking the dog sled thing, because number one, how are you going to detect them? You know what I mean? These things are going to come in under the radar pretty fast, and they're mobile. People who lived up in the Arctic for thousands of years who know how to get through the Arctic, right? Look, the Franklin expedition, big tall ship got stuck in the ice, right? And so many men died. The survivors of it wondered how the Inuit could survive, and they realized they didn't have big ships. They had kayaks that they could easily walk across the ice, use as a toboggan or a boat. You know what I mean? Like that. You know what I mean? Like these people are master of their domain in that sense. So if you think you're going to go up there and just use high tech against them, if they decide to mobilize 37,000 rifles against those people, like I mean, you got a real war on your hand. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure, you'll defeat them over time, but the second the United States invades Greenland, you're going to see like a 2,000 point drop or 20,000 point drop in the stock market. Trump doesn't care about Americans. He cares about Israel and the stock market. Those are his two big things, right? So $5,200 gold, that hurts the stock market, right? But yet the stock market gets propped up. It's basically the rich ripping the wealth from people. People are catching on to it. They might not fully understand how it happens. And some people think, oh, the stock market going up is a good thing. It's not. It's just your wealth leaving, right? So anyway, I guess I'm going to leave it at that. But yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Again, Carney, what he said behind closed doors, my hunch is that the conversation probably did not go as well as he lets on. And I think it's an embarrassment for the Trump administration more than Carney, right? So Carney, he seems to play it like he has the upper hand. Again, 100% tariff on that. Okay, that threat 8 months ago was a very serious threat. But now when you realize how intertwined our economies are, it's like, yeah, but you'll kill your own economy in the process. That would probably force an economic crash globally, but you have to understand that can Trump weather not so much taking out the Canadian economy, but taking out 20 to 40% of his own economy. That's millions and millions of people losing their jobs overnight for something that doesn't need to happen just for the guy's, faggot ego, right? You know what I mean? Like it's like Trump doesn't have the upper hand he thought he had. Like, okay, we just threatened Canada and they'll just back down right away. And then we've been saying, fuck you, make me at every corner, whether you like the guy that's doing it or not. And of course, people are like, well, Carney needs to heal the divide. It's Carney's fault that Trump is doing all this. Like if Carney would just be more reasonable, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, no, there's no reasonability whatsoever. It's not just Carney. Like Carney knows how to play the game. That's the difference. Like he understands statesman stuff. Why? Stephen Harper probably taught him well enough. And again, if Harper was in power now, Stephen Harper would be doing the same thing as Carney. Maybe, you know what I mean? Because like anybody that's intellectually honest looks at this and says, okay, Trump is just hurting his own economy more than anybody else. In the short term, it hurts us. But look, out of that 75% trade, about 15 to 20% of it has already been diverted. So now our economy is maybe about 55% attached to the American economy. And on top of that, we've already made up an extra 25 to 30% trade with other partners, right? So yes, all we're getting is extra trade, extra trade, extra trade. So that, when we lose all that trade from the United States, it doesn't completely implode our economy. Our job numbers, yes, they are ticking up, they tick down, they tick up, they tick down. How much is that from the mass immigration, temporary foreign workers? Like I say, the bouncing ball, where they use, mass immigration to, basically flood the jobs market to tick up the, using temporary foreign workers to prop up the jobs numbers. Okay, yeah, that's been taking place. The thing is it's private sector growth that you have to look at. Like, for example, all the growth under Trudeau was pretty much stimulus of growing the government. The only sector of the economy that was growing was the government. Carney is shrinking very slowly, but he is shrinking the government a little bit. I think he's hired 40,000 people, but he's fired 40,000 people. So we're kind of like at a stalemate. And it looks like we're incrementally getting rid of government workers, right? For every government worker you get rid of, you're saving the taxpayer approximately $140,000 a year, probably plus benefits, right? So yeah, but if you cut too many uh, government jobs at a time, you create a recession, right? So you have to balance your growth between the private sector. Trade is one angle of it. Private sector is the other angle of it. You get the idea. So we have to see how this is going to play out. My hunch, we're on the right track. The concern, what is it going to cost us to divert trade with other partners? Like what sovereignty are we going to give up? Those are the issues I have now. Not the actual trade deal. Like I'm not opposed to trading with China as long as there's guardrails there that keeps China from just over fucking running us, right? That was Doug Ford's concern, and it seems like you know maybe that it's a better deal than what we thought. We don't know all the details yet, but most of them you can track. That said, did the Bank of Canada just basically accept U.S. debt? Like basically, graft the dollar, the Canadian dollar, into buying more U.S. Treasuries? I don't know. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. That would have bad consequences for Canada. Hopefully, Carney didn't do that. Like again, the world's a stage. Maybe Carney's putting up all the show, but meanwhile, he choked and basically sold out the country. I mean, doesn't surprise me either way, right? My hunch, I don't think that's what's going to happen. There's no benefit in Canada taking on U.S. debt, consolidating our debt together. Like, there's no fucking benefit to that whatsoever. None. Not with what Carney is set up. Again, what we have to hold him to account to is the deficit, stuff like that. But if he holds, stays on track with, again, my hunch is that he overestimated the deficit to come in under budget. So that way it's like, okay, he looks like, oh, no, we're on the right track. Meanwhile, he knew exactly where we're going to end up all along. Why? Because politicking, like you do stuff like that. You overestimate that rather than underestimate. And then when you come on over budget, but you're under the estimate, you look like you actually came in under budget. People do that all the time in business, right? Like when you do a contract for somebody, you overestimate it a bit. So when you come in under budget, people give you praise because, like, oh, wow, I thought it was going to be like $10,000 more. You know what I mean? And it's not. But you knew that you were going to come in under that no matter what. But okay, it's probably going to be around that. But we're factoring Murphy factor of this. And okay, you were over budget to what you estimated, but you were still under the budget you quoted, right? That's hopefully what's going on. But as long as the trend is that deficit becomes smaller, so within 4 to 10 years, we can actually balance our budget. The second we balance our budget, the world's our oyster. It's and then of course divert trade. So we'll see how that plays out. What other thing do we have to cover here? Again, yes, the buy our F-35s, or we're going to basically fly over your territory. Again, this dismissal of Canada as a country that comes from the United States administration is extremely insulting. Number one, it's like, okay, yeah, your military is nothing. You contribute nothing. All you do is, you're just a burden, when it's clearly not true. The United States is not paying for everything. Oh, what, the Golden Dome, you're going to benefit from the Golden Dome, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but you build it, we benefit from it, you know what I mean? That's on you. It's not on us, Are we going to commit to the Golden Dome? I don't think so. I think we're more committed to these over-the-horizon radar systems, which sound like a better deal for us anyway. I just can't wait to see if they work as good as that. If they work as good as advertised, like the Golden Dome's not going to do shit for us. It's like, look, we can see Russian subs and American subs under the ice. We kind of don't need you. And that's the biggest fear every psychopath has, is losing that power of, hey, Canada, you're nothing without us. And then you find that, hey, no, we're going it alone as much as we can. And the longer it takes Trump to destroy the Canadian economy, the less likely he is to be successful, right? And that's the worst thing for him, because you'll lose all that power, and the United States hopefully will never have that power over us again. Hopefully no country will. You know what I mean? This is why diversification is a big step one. Step two has got to be national vacation, if you want to call it. We'll make up a word here, and that is basically okay. We got investment coming into the country. We got trade going everywhere. Now what we need to do is really beef up small business, and we are doing, like dropping trade barriers from province to province. More to come in June, but we're stepping in the right direction on that. Streamline all our industries. That would be the smartest thing we could do. So every trucker has the same license. Every plumber and electrician and welder have the same schooling. That would be the smart thing to do for all provinces. Okay, we'll go with the highest standard possible. Oh well, we want to relax the relation. No, let's just go with the highest standard possible, and protect our own industries, because that's what it comes down to. Like, look, if Volkswagen is shutting down plants in the States and going to be moving them over here to Canada, that's fine, as long as it's Canadian workers getting the jobs and stuff like that. That's fine, but we need to kind of, eventually, like I think Doug Ford has already figured it out, but it's going to take him 10 years to do this. We need to design 100% built in Canada vehicles. They could be under contract of BMW or Volkswagen or Toyota or whatever. That's fine, but they have to be able to be 100% made here. And then once they are, then we have to start to say, look, we're going to make a sub company out of it. So Toyota becomes Tundra. We'll call it the Canada Tundra or something like that. The Tundra, the Tundra company, or the Maple Leaf, the CMW, Canadian Motor Works instead of Browning Motor Works, BMW, whatever it is. Okay, we'll take some of their models at first, build them, okay, and then start to build our own. Yes, it'll take 20, 30 years to do that. But in 30 years, we're self-reliant. There's not a vehicle in Canada that's made, or type of vehicle that's not made in Canada. We're fine. That's what we need to do. And the sooner we do that, the better. Problem is, it takes a long time to pivot. You can destroy an economy overnight. It takes a long time to rebuild it. But Carney is already acting like our economy is destroyed. He's getting out ahead of it. Why? Because, again, can we outrun the collapse of the United States? We're at $5,200 gold. My hunch says no. We're going to take a massive hit here in Canada, no matter which way we go. Those American job losses will affect Canadians. Canadian job losses are affecting Americans. The supply chain is too intertwined, right? Decoupling is not an overnight thing. It'll take decades to do that. But you have to start the process now, right? And that's the right thing to do, okay? And yes, maybe he's putting a little bit too much focus on that instead of, internal trade. Maybe needs to, but I think the internal trade barriers are going to solve themselves a lot faster than the external trade barriers, right? So we'll see how that plays out. Look, the Churchill Falls port is about to open up. Springtime, that thing's going to be freaking taking all kinds of stuff out. I mean, that's going to be trade. Like, maybe we got to start either buying or building freighters of our own to be able to keep up with the exports that we're going to be doing. We're going to expand the Montreal port, the Vancouver port. Churchill Falls is opening up. Expand those. These can become like world hubs. You know what I mean? We're definitely going to have to patrol the Northwest Passage big time with our warships, and we're going to have to start setting up base stations up there. We're going to have to make sure we're all the way up to alert again. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's going to take time, but we'll see where we end up. But that said, don't despair. Be prepared. Don't be afraid. Be prepared. But be concerned about where we're at. That is very terrifying. $5,200. Again, $700. $700 gold spike in 1 month. Wow. Just wow. So, before you go out to protest, make sure you go and stock up on, groceries and shit like that, medications, whatever you're going to need to live for the next 2 years. Have yourself at least a 2-year buffer zone for everything you need in the house. You want toilet paper, go buy it now. But before you buy like 20
things of toilet paper. Make sure you buy 20 things of rice or beans or whatever. Who cares what the food tastes like when when there's no food on the shelf? You'll eat whatever's able to be eat. Stock up now. I'm going to be doing another probably stockpiling, in a few weeks or whatever. As soon as I can get out and about, out and about, because I'm going to have to go do my taxes or whatever while I'm out there. I'm probably going to start to see. I can't run up my credit card till about March, right? But I can, take a little bit of money, buy, like say 12 bags of rice. Okay, that'll feed me and my family for it'll keep us alive for a while, right? So I'm not preparing for me. I'm preparing for 5 people. You know. Now the thing is the idea is to build a pantry and use it up. Don't just buy stuff sitting there. Use it up. You know what I mean? Like take your oldest stuff, open it up, use it, buy new stuff, or just replace it. The idea is a buffer zone. I'm going to stockpile come March one of the things I'm going to be putting on my credit card is fertilizer, like gardening supplies. Lots of seeds. Probably going to buy about $200-300 worth of seeds. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Now I know seeds do go bad. Whatever. I'll see what I get. A lot of times I don't have to buy anywhere near as much as I thought. But I want to get heirloom seeds so that I could start my seed processing vault. You know what I mean? Every year I got seeds that I can just throw them all in the ground. Whatever grows. But I'm not gonna get too early of a start on that, because what I've found is that early in the spring, like if I start like say in February, March trying to grow stuff, by the time I get it in the ground, it dies. You know what I mean? I found that Mother Nature just does, seed in the ground works the best. Whatever. It's just make sure whatever you're planting in, I don't find starting my plants too early, like your tomato plants. Like if they're that high, they have a better chance of survival when they go in the ground, right? But they don't technically grow any faster. Like if you put a seed in the ground and you put a plant in the ground, they're kind of at the same height at the end of the season with the same amount of yield. So I think nature just does what nature does, and whatever. But guys, be preparing. $5,200 gold. I cannot believe it. I was stunned when it hit 5,000. Guys, just look at where we were, the gold price at January 1st to now. Was it $700, $1,000 more? That is a terrifying world. And we're about to start another war in the Middle East for Israel. So, I mean, it's never for the women and children and democracy. Don't, at this point, if people are still believing that, okay, you fell on your head and you're retarded. At this point, you should understand what's going on. Look, it's death of an empire, guys. The United States is dying. They can save themselves. There's no doubt about that, but not with Donald Trump at the helm. And I really don't think, I think Steve Bannon was telling us the truth that, Donald Trump is not going to, he's going to be president in 2028, which tells you, maybe that's what all this ICE thing is about, is they know when these people clash that there's going to be people killed, right? You never hear the news coming out talking about how these protesters are killing ICE agents, and they've killed quite a few, right? They don't talk about the injuries and stuff like that. It's just, oh my God, when the ICE agents overreact and shoot a protester, it's okay, yeah, but you have to understand these protesters are super violent as well. Most of them might be peaceful, but these people are willing to kill themselves for this crazy cause to defend people that absolutely hate them. These Somalis hate you. They're Muslims. They do not like you. They don't like you purple-haired, green-haired, LGBTQ people. They don't. You know what I mean? It's bizarre, but here we are, right? But that's what a dystopia looks like, right? Anyway, I'll leave it at about that. I got to get some stuff done. I don't think I'm going to do anything with the water. I think I'm going to be out of water here for till April, but it's okay because up home. So I just bring water down here to drink or whatever I need. whatever I need. I'm gonna have to go to work at the school tonight. My buddy and I, we're gonna be working the late evening shift. I'm gonna help him out tonight, so it's gonna be a weird. You might not get a video tomorrow. It's hard to say. You will get a video tonight, but you might not get a video tomorrow. It's hard to say. Depends what time I get back. I might not be getting back home till probably might be midnight by the time I get home. Depends on how long it takes us to clean the school, because my buddy had to go to do the far side of Montreal for an appointment with his wife, and by the time they get back, it's between 5 and 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock, and we're going to go to the school from at that point, and then finish up his shift, so he's fine for tomorrow, and then after that, we're having our carnival on either Friday night or Saturday night. I'm not sure which. And then I got to go back to school on the Sunday. But then, so that's my week. Still working on my song. Guys, look, I know all this gloom and doom stuff. Be mindful of it, but don't be doom scrolling. Go spend quality time with people that mean something to you. If you're one of those people that have families and stuff like that, I hope you're sitting together for supper. Because I enjoy doing it. Once you start doing that, okay, yeah, of course, teenage kids are not going to want to, I want to be on my phone while, whatever. No, sit down, we're going to eat. Turn your phone off, everybody phone off. How's your day? Starts telling stupid jokes. My nephew told me a funny joke yesterday. What was it? But anyway, yeah. So, yeah. Do stuff like that, because, that's what matters. All this other chaos doesn't matter that much. It really doesn't. As long as you can learn to live around the chaos, and I know not everybody's going to get a man cave like I got this year. This is my grandfather's place. My brother was living here. You guys, and my sister-in-law, my nephew. Now they're up home with my dad and I. But I come down here and look, I got paintings. I've got musical recording. I got all these books. I got all kinds of entertainment here, right? Very leisure. And I know in the summertime, I'm going to probably have jam sessions in here. Maybe not too many, depends, I got my guitars to do stuff, you know what I mean? And it's a creative outlet. So even though the world might be kind of falling apart at $5,200 gold, I at least have something to keep sanity. You know what I mean? Do that thing. Again, go out and show what you stand for, and lead by example rather than just what you oppose all the time. And I know I'm guilty of it too. We're all guilty of it. I'm always bitching about all the things that are wrong as well. And it can give people the sense that, there's just no hope and everything's blackfilled, but there's not. Look, it's bad. $5,200. I got $5,200 gold and $38 trillion reasons why things are bad. You get the idea. You get the idea. And it's going to affect you. It's going to hit you. It's going to hit everybody, right? It's bad, right? But it doesn't have to mean, look, people lived under 80 to 100 years of communism. We're going under something like that for the next 3,000 to 5,000 years. God knows what it's going to look like. Again, when my book 2060 Dystopia, I'm going to be starting chapter 6, maybe not tonight, but tomorrow night. When I get that one out, there's a lot of the stuff we're dealing with now is, how's it going to look in the future? Well, people are going to be living, there's people that want this to come to an end in 5 minutes. And I understand the black pill of people that is Trump was supposed to be our good guy. Now he's rug pulled us. He's no different. In fact, he is different from the other ones. He's 10 times worse. You know what I mean? And people are starting to feel it, right? And I understand the people that double down again. No, Trump's our guy no matter what. Because the alternative of being betrayed again is it's too hard. This happens with the left too, right? Yeah, they lie. They lie. They all do. They get us into these fucked up wars. They're printing money, the housing crisis. Again, it's all done to us on purpose. They want this, right? Why? Because they're evil. There's not some grand chessboard. It's not Zygmunt Brzezinski's grand chessboard. It's basically they're evil. It's as pure and plain as that. They're evil. And Mr. Global, yes, there's more than one of them. It's this mob boss fighting the other mob boss. Everybody's always looking at for the one Dr. Evil at the top. No, it was Klaus Schwab. No, it was the Rothschilds. No, it was Zionist Israel. No, it's Obama. It's Trump. No, it's all of them. It's a thing. These are, again, it's the nihilist versus the survivalist. Which side are you on? You know what I mean? Like, do you believe in surviving? And if you do, everybody says yes, sure. But what are your actions? What actions are you taking to better your mind? What actions are you taking to make sure you don't starve to death? What actions are you taking to make sure you don't get killed in the chaos of diversity? You know what I mean? And again, it doesn't mean I hate people from anywhere else. It's just, just be aware of your situation. Like, okay, if you're a white girl and you're a progressive, okay, maybe when you sit on a train full of black guys, maybe you want to distance yourself, not because you're a hateful person, but because the stats show that you're likely to die. You're 200 times likely more to die there. You know what I mean? So like, it's just, I know there's going to be life runs on Darwinism and whatever. I get it. It is what it is. Try to survive the chaos of it all, but you don't have to despair. As it says in that big book right down, where's my chair? My chair over there. As it says right there. In that book there, fear not. Fear not. He's in charge, right? The only thing you got to do is just live good. That's all. That's all he wants you to do. Just live good. Just live right by him. 10 Commandments. Read that. Throw away the rest of the book. It's good. That's all you need to do, right? And if you do that, you're going to fare out well. But you have to do it around the chaos of all these other nihilistic, tear down the society. Like, you have people that just want to tear down the West because they're so brainwashed into progressivism. These people, pray for them. I mean, they're annoying, they're insufferable, but these are damaged people. You know what I mean? I'm not happy that half my countrymen are gone completely fucking insane. You know what I mean? It's not something. And again, I can just tell, like, talking to people within 10 seconds just by the fucking newspeak. You know what I mean? Like, they use all these buzzwords. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that person's real far gone. And, kill them with kindness. Not everything has to be this big challenge of, again, these people that wake up in the morning and the first thing on their mind is hate speech and Nazis. And could you imagine waking up? Like, just thank yourself. You woke up this morning. You just thank the Lord that you didn't wake up as a progressive. You know what I mean? Like, just think of the mental hemorrhage of oh my God, the ICE Nazis are everywhere. They're going to kill us. We have to martyr our bodies on the line. Like, just imagine how fucking mental hemorrhaging that is. Like, these people are hurting big time. Why? Because they're left-hand path. Maybe it's nature's way. I'm sure somewhere in the future, if we haven't nuked ourselves. Remember, we had nukes flying this. A coup in China, nukes flying in Ukraine again. Okay, dummy warheads, but still, these things are coming in at like Mach 18 or something like that. It's ridiculous, or Mach 12. It doesn't matter. You can't stop them. It's the pre-show to what's coming. At some point, these warheads are going to come in, and they're not going to be the fake ones. You know what I mean? But the Russians are getting good data. It's like, oh yeah, these things actually fucking work. It's like, holy shit. Whenever it's go time, like, yeah, we're good. We're all dead, but yeah. It'll be a spectacular. Just sit back and laugh at the chaos of it all. That's all you can really do. But while you're doing that, enjoy life. Get out, do things, prepare. Oh, I live in an apartment and I'm broke. Yeah, everybody's broke. I'm broke. But do little bits at a time. Do what you can. Don't take yes, your goal is to have at least a minimum of 2 years worth of food for you and everybody in your family. Okay, that's a very daunting task, right? Even for people that are wealthy, that's a daunting task. Okay, you don't have to do it overnight. You just got to start doing it, Okay, you got a little bit of extra money. Instead of buying fucking weed and stuff like that and cigarettes, maybe put it towards a bag of rice, maybe, or something like that, or whatever it is you eat, store it away. Okay, just get a stockpile going, so that at least you have a buffer zone. Because guys, I'm telling you, if you're listening to the farmers, there are going to be massive food shortages globally, and yes, you're going to see it in the States. It's going to be a very bizarre day when people come to that realization that, hey, wait a minute, we can't feed ourselves. China already knows this. That's why China doesn't fuck with the potash, right? They produce it too, but they don't fuck with it. They buy a lot from us, right? Donald Trump, that's where he's retarded. Like, farmers are screaming at you, like, dude, 80% of our fertilizer comes from Canada. Canada has that card over us. We control your food supply. You know what I mean? So, like a lot of Americans, it still hasn't dawned on them that that's how serious it is. And it's not because we're mean or like, oh, we're controlling the American. It's just because we have it. You say, well, we'll get our own. You don't have it. They haven't found the potash mines like we have. Like, Canada's number one at potash. We supply most of the world with fucking potash. It's us, Russia, Belarus, Ukraine has a little bit, Venezuela has a bit, and China. That's pretty much it. After that, you ain't got it. You know what I mean? So yeah. You know what I mean? This is why, like, I think Victory Gardens are going to be very, very, I highly promote Victory Gardens this year, if you can get away with it. I get it if you live in the city, but you can do things in the city such as, again, oxygen absorber, jar of rice. You're good for probably the rest of your actual life, and storing that stuff. And I use it up, you know what I mean? Like, I mainly put it in that to keep the mice out, but, and the weevils. Yeah, that's what the oxygen absorbers do. And, okay, if you're starving, you'll eat the weevils. They're little bugs. They're naturally in the rice, so they're not going to harm you or anything like that. It's like you see them crawling around in there, like, you're not going to want to eat it, but is what it is, right? If you're starving, you'll eat it. But that said, stock up on stuff. Stock up on cherry sauce and soy sauce. But use it up. Use it up, because some of the stuff I bought years ago is no longer any good, and I have to throw it out, right? Because I let it sit too long, rather than kind of thinking of it like a cycle where it's like, okay, you buy a lot, right, and you get ahead of it, and you build up all everything. If you want toothpaste, buy two of everything every time you buy, right? If you can, and stock up. You want, just. Get a thing of toilet paper. Okay, well, maybe you get 10 things of toilet paper. People are going to start buying in bulk anyway, because it's like, well, I'm going to buy it now when it's at $5,200 gold, because at $8,500 gold, it's going to be, 3 times more expensive, 4 times more expensive, right? So people are going to start to pick up on this pattern. I don't know what else I could tell you guys. Just prepare. We're living what people think. Everybody thinks this is all like a new phase. It's not. This is just the death rolls of the 2008 collapse. Okay, I started thinking about this last night, and I'm going to have to you guys do some research, see what you guys come up with. But I started thinking, okay, well, what would a dollar buy you in 29 to 1933? Like, how much could you buy for your dollar in groceries in 1929 to 19? The Great Depression, right? I bet you buy way less now. In 2026, you're probably buying way less now for that same dollar. I can guarantee you. Like, I can guarantee you in 1929, a dollar would buy, it'd be harder to make that dollar, sure. But if you had a dollar, you could probably buy like a week's worth of groceries. You know what I mean? For a dollar, like a loaf of bread was 5 cents. You know what I mean? You could probably buy a chicken for 10 cents. You know what I mean? Like, or something like, again, it'd be interesting to see, are we better off now? Like, because of technology, we're better off. But like, financially, we're worse off now than what we were in the Great Depression. Let that part sink in. Why? Because gold was like 35 cents an ounce back then. Or $1 or 30 or whatever. It wasn't $5,200. Guys, like, just let that sink in. Let it sink in. Oh my God, we're gonna die. Holy shit. And in a month, remember, guys, what's the world gonna look like at that $3,000 an ounce? Do you remember? That seemed like it was like 3 weeks ago I said that. It was only like it was like in November. I was saying, guys, what's the world going to look like at $4,000 an ounce? We're 5,200. Holy shitballs! All right. Anyway, I can go on and on, but agree, disagree, never, or agree to disagree. Never feel you can't challenge me on my ideas or whatever. And I know a lot of you guys don't like to hear me go off on Trump, but and make it sound like I'm, giving all this praise to Carney. I get that. I don't like either guy. I don't. Why? Because to me they're all the same. But I do have to tell you what's going on so that you can plan wisely. Like we still have the everything crisis up here in Canada, the housing, the mass immigration. Most of it's brought on by the mass immigration. And you can only blame so much on the 2020 stuff, right? Is what it is. But what I am telling you that I do know for sure is that things are not getting better. They're not getting better across the board. We are trying to outrun the biggest collapse of a civilization, of the most prosperous civilization in the world is collapsing right in front of our eyes. Now, mind you, we've known that they wanted to do the pivot to Asia since 2010, right? That was what all the globalists wanted. Trump is helping them. Very terrifying. Very terrifying. Anyway, like I say, it doesn't matter which way they go. It always seems like the globalists get what they want, right? They always know how to harpoon it. And it's only a matter of time before, like I say, the future of the world elites is Muammar Gaddafi. I'm not making any threats, but people are figuring it out. It's like, how do these fuckers at the stock market always win? Whether it's good or bad news, it always goes up. How? Because they're taking they're taking all the wealth from us, right? They win. They back both sides of the trade. You know what I mean? It's corrupt. It's corrupt to the core. But what can't go on forever won't, and it's just where does the buck stop? And I think we're years and years and years of this kind of chaos. Every year is just going to, like I say, it's just going to be more crazier than the last for the rest of our natural lives. It's not a black pill; it just is what it is. There is a silver lining as that, at some point, control is going to be lost by the government. They're just not going to be able to do it. Like the AI is not going to be able to regulate everything the way they think. I say by 2032. AI is going to be pointless because we're not going to be smart enough we've dumbed down our society so much that we're not going to have anybody able to run it. When it breaks down, it's just, but it'll run itself. It's not symbiont, guys. It's not even close. It's just a really fast program. Like these data centers require so much fucking energy. What a waste of money. Like think of what we could have gotten. We could have gotten space travel for the cost of these data centers. Like we'd be on Mars for that price. It's trillions and trillions. It's just ridiculous. Globalists are just fucking way out there. They're way out there. These transhumanist types, let them have their fun. But yeah, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. But what can work is Family Nation Future. Keep it simple. Be around the people you enjoy. Start getting more real world participatory. Like this whole I'm what do you call it? An introvert. Blah blah. Stop that shit. Just stop it. Go out. You don't have to be everybody's best friend, but go out and just have a good conversation and meal with people. Do stuff as a group. Stand for something, not just social justice all the time. Stand for something. But display it. Display that positivity, and then we win. All right. Anyway, there we go. Have yourselves a great day.